The year was 1776. In America, 13 colonies chafed under British rule. They yearned for freedom. They believed in liberty. So they decided to fight for it. On July 4th, they declared their independence. This was a bold move. The Declaration of Independence was a powerful document. It stated that all men are created equal. It proclaimed the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration was signed in Philadelphia. The signatories knew the risks. They were committing treason against the British Crown. But they believed in their cause. They were willing to sacrifice everything for it. The news of the Declaration spread like wildfire. It reached every corner of the colonies. It inspired hope and courage. The Declaration was not just for Americans. It was a message to the world. It proclaimed that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. This was a revolutionary idea. It challenged the very foundation of monarchy. The Declaration inspired people in other countries. It gave them hope for their own freedom. It showed that even a small nation could stand up to a powerful empire. The Declaration was just the beginning. The fight for independence was long and hard, but the Americans were determined. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their future. They were fighting for the ideals enshrined in the Declaration. They were fighting for a new kind of nation, a nation founded on liberty and equality, and in the end, they would prevail. The Declaration of Independence was a call to arms, a bold statement of intent that resonated across the 13 colonies. Great Britain, a global superpower with vast resources and a formidable military, would not relinquish its colonies without a fight. The American Revolutionary War had begun. The colonists, though passionate and determined, were outmatched in many ways. The British had a larger army, more resources, and greater experience in warfare, making the odds seem insurmountable. But the Americans had something else. The indomitable spirit of '76, a fierce determination to fight for their independence. They were fighting for their freedom, their right to self-governance, and they were determined to win, no matter the cost. The Continental Army, led by General George Washington, faced incredible hardships and numerous challenges. They were often short on supplies, food, and ammunition, struggling to sustain their fight against the British. The winter at Valley Forge was particularly brutal, testing the limits of their endurance and resolve. But Washington, a man of unwavering resolve and courage, inspired his troops to persevere through the darkest times. The Americans also received crucial help from abroad, which bolstered their efforts significantly. France, eager to see Britain weaken, provided military and financial aid, tipping the scales in favor of the American cause. The war raged for 8 long years, with numerous battles fought across the colonies. From the battlefields of Lexington and Concord, where the first shots were fired, to the fields of Saratoga, a turning point in the war, and the final victory at Yorktown, where British forces surrendered, American forces proved their resilience and courage time and again. Finally, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, marking the end of the war. Great Britain recognized the independence of the United States of America, a monumental achievement. A new nation was born, built on the principles of liberty and justice. The victory was hard-won, paid for with the blood and sacrifice of countless patriots who believed in the cause, but it was a victory that would change the course of history, setting a precedent for future generations. The American Revolution inspired people around the world to fight for their own freedom and self-determination, igniting a spark of hope. It proved that even the mightiest empires could be challenged and defeated by the will of a determined people, united in their quest for liberty. The newly independent nation faced a daunting task ahead. It had to rebuild after the devastation of war, a monumental effort requiring unity and perseverance. It had to create a government that would protect the freedoms so valiantly fought for, ensuring a lasting legacy. But the spirit of the revolution burned bright, a beacon of hope and determination. The American people were ready to meet the challenges ahead, united in their vision for a better future. With independence secured, the newly formed United States faced the monumental task of forging a nation from 13 disparate colonies. The first attempt at a governing document, the Articles of Confederation, proved too weak to effectively unite the states. Recognizing the need for a stronger framework, leaders from across the land convened in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787. This gathering, known as the Constitutional Convention, became a crucible where the fate of the nation hung in the balance. Towering figures like James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and Benjamin Franklin debated fiercely over the structure and powers of the new government. Compromises were hard fought, but ultimately, they produced a document that has endured for centuries: the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution established a system of checks and balances, dividing power between three branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial. This ingenious system ensured that no single branch could become too powerful, safeguarding the liberties so recently won. George Washington, the hero of the Revolution, was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States. Washington, a man of impeccable character and vision, guided the young nation through its formative years. He established precedents for the presidency that continue to this day. His farewell address, a masterpiece of political wisdom, warned against the dangers of partisan strife and foreign entanglements. The foundation for a strong and enduring nation had been laid. Section 4. An expanding nation. The early years of the 19th century saw the United States embark on an era of unprecedented westward expansion, a period marked by ambition and adventure. Fueled by a belief in manifest destiny, the idea that it was America's God-given right to expand across the North American continent, settlers, pioneers, and adventurers pushed westward, seeking new opportunities and a chance to build a better life. This belief was deeply ingrained in the American psyche and drove many to endure great hardships. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803, orchestrated by President Thomas Jefferson, doubled the size of the nation, adding vast territories west of the Mississippi River. This monumental acquisition was a turning point in American history. This acquisition opened up vast new lands for exploration and settlement, but it also brought new challenges. The vastness of the new territories meant that settlers had to navigate unknown landscapes and face numerous obstacles. The issue of slavery, which had been a source of contention since the founding of the nation, became increasingly divisive as new states were admitted to the Union. Each new state brought with it the question of whether it would be a free state or a slave state. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 attempted to address the issue by drawing a line across the western territories, allowing slavery south of the line but prohibiting it north of it. This was a temporary measure to maintain the balance of power. This compromise, however, proved to be only a temporary solution. The underlying tensions continued to simmer, threatening the unity of the nation. Westward expansion had a profound impact on the Native American tribes who had called these lands home for centuries. Their way of life was disrupted as settlers encroached on their territories, treaties were often broken, and tribes were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands. This led to numerous conflicts and a great deal of suffering for the Native American communities. The Trail of Tears, the forced relocation of the Cherokee Nation from Georgia to Oklahoma, stands as a tragic testament to the human cost of westward expansion. Thousands of Cherokee people suffered and died during this brutal journey. Despite the challenges and injustices, the westward movement continued unabated. The promise of new land and opportunities was too great a lure for many settlers. The discovery of gold in California in 1848 sparked a massive influx of prospectors and settlers, further accelerating the pace of westward expansion. This event, known as the Gold Rush, brought people from all over the world to California. By the mid-19th century, the United States had extended its reach from the Atlantic to the Pacific, fulfilling the dream of manifest destiny. The nation had grown immensely in both size and ambition, but the nation's internal divisions over slavery continued to fester, threatening to tear the young republic apart. These unresolved issues would eventually lead to a national crisis. Section 5. A Nation Divided. The issue of slavery, long a source of tension and debate, reached a boiling point in the mid-19th century, causing deep divisions within the country. The abolitionist movement, advocating for the immediate end to slavery, gained significant momentum in the North, spreading its message through pamphlets, speeches, and rallies. Abolitionists like Frederick Douglass, a former slave who became a powerful orator and writer, spoke out eloquently against the horrors of slavery, inspiring many to join the cause. Harriet Tubman, a conductor on the Underground Railroad, risked her life repeatedly to lead enslaved people to freedom in the North, becoming a symbol of courage and resistance. The South, however, remained deeply entrenched in its dependence on slave labor, with its economy and social structure heavily reliant on the institution of slavery. Southern leaders argued that slavery was essential to their economy and way of life, claiming it was a necessary institution for their prosperity. They defended it as a positive good, sanctioned by the Bible and beneficial to both races, asserting that it provided a stable social order. As tensions escalated, the nation found itself on the brink of disaster, with political debates turning increasingly hostile and uncompromising. The election of Abraham Lincoln, a Republican who opposed the expansion of slavery as president in 1860, proved to be the catalyst for secession, igniting fears in the South. Fearing that Lincoln's administration would threaten their way of life, 11 Southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America, a bold and defiant move. The American Civil War had begun, a conflict that would become one of the most defining and devastating in the nation's history. The nation was divided, brother against brother, in a conflict that would claim the lives of over 600,000 Americans, leaving deep scars on the national psyche. The North, with its industrial might and larger population, ultimately prevailed, leveraging its resources and manpower to outlast the Confederacy. After 4 years of bloody conflict, the Confederacy surrendered to the Union in 1865, marking the end of the Civil War. The Civil War was a defining moment in American history, reshaping the nation's future and its values. It ended slavery and preserved the Union, setting the stage for a new chapter in American life. It also ushered in a new era of Reconstruction as the nation grappled with the legacies of slavery and the challenge of integrating millions of formerly enslaved people into American society, a task fraught with difficulties and resistance. The war tested the very fabric of American democracy, but it also demonstrated the nation's resilience and its capacity for healing and renewal, proving that even in the face of great adversity, the United States could emerge stronger and more united.